Carfagno and Kelly Cass. Today is Names Day. We're going to look up what's behind a name.
All right, so your name, Greek for the word crown.
Jennifer means
royalty.
A fair one, which is very fitting for her. And also Kelly, which is Gaelic for warrior or defender. We're going to have to defend ourselves against some...
and really for a very large area, too. We've got some in Colorado, some in Kansas. Big area of high fire risk for today.
You know, they say fewer than 10 homes at Hutchinson, Kansas. That's a lot of people are hunters out there, and there's a lot of land. You know, and you always wonder about the animals and, the issues.
Well, I mean, yesterday we had that brush fire in South Florida. Interstates were closed. And, the same thing could happen today. We are expecting the concern for high fire danger because of the winds and the low humidity.
Okay, also the dry land here. Everything is really crisp because we do have moderate drought conditions through a big chunk of the plains and where we have this high fire danger. So it's dry on the ground, it's dry on the air, and then we got the winds to blow it all around.
All right, and that helps dry out the air as well. So we've got a couple of things making it windy today. Of course, ahead of our dry line, we'll see these south winds. Behind the front, then we've got these northwest winds here. And, in general, just a very windy day before the dry line, before the front, and after the front.
Yeah, and one of the main reasons that it's windy is you have this system, this low pressure and this huge system here. You have that high pressure by Jen.
Both are strong.
Both are strong, and so the closer they are together, the breezier the conditions are, and that's called a pressure gradient for all of my science geeks out there. So you have a pretty strong pressure gradient between the two.
Another factor is that, yes, the air is dry, but also the fact that you're losing elevation. In Mile High City, you lose several thousand feet of elevation, so downsloping air is actually a drying process, so that helps dry out the air even more.
We have everything playing to the favor of causing this to happen here in fire danger. So tomorrow, we're going to show you the relative humidities because they go down into the teens. Look at places like Wichita, Dodge City, Amarillo, 70, 80%. Watch what happens when that front goes through. I mean, we are dropping down to single-digit relative humidities in the teens. That is significant.
Yes. Another factor is that behind the front, it doesn't cool down. Temperatures are still going to be warm, so when you have a big difference between the temperature and the dew point, that's low relative humidity.
All right, so here we go. Winds gusting 30, 40, maybe even higher than that at times. That is just going to blow everything around, and as Jen was mentioning, you mix up the air when you do that too.
All right, so if fires develop today, they'll spread very easily. Concerns, of course, not just in Colorado, but look at this big area. That's a big red flag warning. All right, area red flag warnings?
Yeah, that area is red flag warnings. Yeah. Denver, where we just had a giraffe born, Dobby, at the zoo there. Not the one that everyone's been watching online, but everyone's all excited about this giraffe in Denver. Yeah, it's going to be very, very dry. They actually had to give it like the plasma transfusion or something like that. So if people are following that story, we're going to follow the fire danger threat here. It's going to be highest, obviously, when you get to the afternoon, evening hours.
All right, guys, stay safe out there today. Of course, it wasn't just here, also in Florida. Kelly,
you mentioned severe weather so early in the year, so much earlier than we typically do, but that does not mean that is a trend for the rest of the year whatsoever.
Exactly. There's no correlation, but January and February and now the beginning of March, the busiest start to the year since 2012. We get tornadoes in January and February, but by March we start to ramp things up and we start to get to the busy severe season.
Right. Now typically May is our most active month, but there has been times when April, I remember one year in April, it was literally the most tornadoes on record, even beating out whatever the May record was. You remember that year?
Well, the end of April, the date is escaping, but of course the big super outbreak.
I'm just saying the whole month. It was like outrageous. I need to look that up, remember myself.
All right, so talking about today's severe ingredients, we've got to look at shear lift instability, all medium, moisture low as to sort of where everything comes together. That's the key here. We do actually have moisture, it's just not in the right spot.
Right. So no meteorologist is ever going to be able to tell you exactly 100% what's going to happen. And so what we're trying to do is articulate to you the ingredients we have and where they kind of measure up on the scale of severe weather.
All right, so plenty of moisture down here returning from the Gulf of Mexico. This has been ongoing since winds have been out of the south now for about 24 hours, and it's bringing moisture far north, but dew points are still in the 40s and 50s up here, which is not quite enough.
You want them about 55 or higher in order to get severe weather. So that's kind of like meh, right, when we talk about that.
So the red zone from today does stretch from northeast Texas right up into Minnesota. However, where you can cross in the moisture right in here and some of the upper level energy. That's sort of like a Kansas City, why we're highlighting you as one example for today. You guys are sort of the upper limits of that.
But this is the trick right here. Is that moisture going to get high enough? Are the strongest winds going to get low enough? And that's really the problem with this forecast right now. We do have a 4 here in the portions of Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas, a 3 and a 4. We're not saying that it's not going to happen, but it's not like you're going to have this huge tornado outbreak because of the reasons we're going to show you momentarily.
All right, so strong damaging winds are a possibility of storms today. Hail also is, especially especially in this area in southwestern Missouri, northern Arkansas, the Ozarks. The same area actually has strong damaging winds as a bigger threat when it comes to storms for today as well.
Okay, so winds are a big deal. Watch the timeline in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. You're going to see the radar here. This is all through the day. Again, this is going to happen much later in the day, more really kind of past rush hour,
so
bedtime-ish.
You're right, 6, 7 o'clock. The latest model actually even brings it a little bit later.
Yeah.
Kansas City, what you can't see on this is you're going to spend a lot of your day cloudy, and that is going to limit instability. So the more clouds you have, the better it is actually to reduce that severe threat.
All right,
so tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, I mean, one of the big deals here, again, we didn't show any winds in that segment, but we'll show you where the winds are located here in this segment.
All right, so we take a look at tomorrow's red zone stretching from Texas, southeast Texas, up into parts of Mississippi. Let's look at Jackson, Mississippi, where, again, most of your day today is cloudy. A couple of showers are possible. Winds are from the south, and you can see that in the direction of these showers. The front approaches, and it's ahead of that front. A line of storms comes in on Tuesday that could bring possible severe weather into Jackson,
but the problem with this is our jet stream, energy is much farther north. Even, Kelly, with the event today. Well, in today's Farmers Forecast, we want to take a look at women in agriculture.
A new show is highlighting their very important roles. Take a look. And Farm Her is a new program focusing on women in agriculture. It airs Friday nights on RFD TV.
And joining us now is the founder of Farm Her, and that is Margie Geiler-Alanis. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is more than just a TV show. Tell us a little bit more about on the show this Friday.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this.
Margie, how can women get involved if they'd like to?
Yeah, Margie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I love this. Kelly, let's have a look into the weekend.
Dining room trays, they definitely work really well. Trash can lids work well. There's lots of things that work well in the snow. What you haven't had is a lot of snow to try that on, right? Of course, they have snow in the Poconos there in Pennsylvania. But let me talk about when is our last measurable snow and where we might actually get it at the end of this week. So I want to focus on these colors right here, the orange or the yellows and the almost orange. So all the way down into the mid-Atlantic, into southern Missouri. This is March snow. We get snow in March. Our average last date of snow is, in March. So this is not unusual to be talking about snow. What's unusual actually is how little we've seen in places like D.C. all the way back into Chicago, running about a foot behind for the season. Let's fast forward to the end of this week and show you some chances of snow coming your way. So the pattern warms up this work week. But then as we get into the weekend, we are again going to see some cold air sinking down and bringing in the chance for some wintry weather. We're still more than 5 days out of the forecast. Let me tell you, there's uncertainty whether or not we get snowfall out of this. But the GFS model shows a swath of snow stretching from southern Minnesota right through Illinois, Indiana, and into the mid-Atlantic, including Pennsylvania, bringing some snow into places like Philly or D.C. and back into western PA as well. The European model doesn't have quite as much, but still has an accumulating snow right back through the same area, West Virginia into the D.C. area, bringing a chance of snow, and back to Chicago south of there, perhaps some heavier amounts. Again, this is 5 days out, but giving you an indication of the pattern changing, a return to colder air. You see that as we look ahead to our temperatures and the first couple thousand feet of the atmosphere, and then where we're going to see some upper level energy. So we see a general trough. It sort of mirrors where we're going to see a trough in the atmosphere building in. Midweek we see one, end of the week into the weekend we see another, building in just to allow some colder air to come in. It's not the heart of the Arctic air, but it is cold enough that it could bring wintry precip. So now we track our area of low pressure. Here it is right here as we track it on first the European model. We track that along, and we're going to be watching for rain to the south, snow to the north, right above this blue line, which is our 32-degree line. So there'll be some snow chances getting in through the Ohio Valley. And then once the low goes off the coast, gets access to more Atlantic moisture, a better chance of getting and accumulating snow if it sits in place for a minute. Now let's look at the GFS model. Again, very similar placement to where we're going to see the low. What happens is this low is just a little more vigorous, has access to a little bit more moisture based on this modeling, and so it does bring in some higher snowfall amounts. Both have signs of cold air coming back. Both have signs of some wintry precip as a possibility getting into this weekend. Just to quickly show you the GFS, again, chances for snow stretching from the Midwest to the Mid-Atlantic. The European model, similar placement, slightly different in terms of amounts. And Steph, either way, I mean, there's a chance of getting some winter still back in the forecast.